Cool. So this is just a very short panel to get to know some of our hardcore hackers, let's call them. You know, the developers behind the developers that are the developers that... Anyway, that sort of thing. Anyhow, so I have some questions, which I will simply ask, and we'll see what they answer. So, Thorsten, starting with you. What was your first open source contribution, and when was that?
There was probably something 97 or 98. It was a very obscure library called PS2Edit, which was used to convert PostScript files to something editable, which at the time was, for example, Windows Metafile. That's where my journey with that bloody format started. So yeah, there was some problem there. So there was some, well, scratch my own itch. Something wasn't working, not rendering correctly. So that was my very first 2-3 changes.
But the Windows metafiles in those days were the original Windows 16, no?
Absolutely, the real one, the real deal, like that.
Tor, when was your first open source contribution?
Yes, I think it was in the mid-1980s, probably. I had at the time ported TeX or Tech to the rather obscure mini computer we were using at my job, and I then wrote a driver for the HP LaserJet printer, which was rather new at the time and could be used to print your nicely typeset documents.
Wow, starting off with Tech then.
Yep.
A Donald Knuth contributor.
And I do have a check from Donald Knuth.
Oh, you do? You found a bug. Even better. This guy's a computer.
The bug was in the font, not in the actual code.
Oh, okay. Excellent. For those who don't know, Donald Knuth sends doubling checks each time he finds a new bug, I think. That's right. What's the value of your check, Tor?
It's only 256.
256. Look at that. Very early. Caolan, what was your first open source contribution?
Do I have to? I don't have. Well, it wasn't quite as dramatic as that. So when it was, I've tried to reconstruct it, and I'm not sure. So I think it's about 94 or thereabouts. Whenever NT was available and the login on NT moved around the screen, so we had to patch whatever it was, whatever Excretor was the one at the time, XDMCP. We had a 3D, a ZAW 3D version. So we added a random pet. Well, I added a random pet for that to make it move around the screen as well, and submitted it. And of course, at the time, you submitted things by just emailing patches to various people at the other end of the world. So that's how we submitted it. Whether it got merged, I don't know. But that was the attempt.
And so this was a security feature, was it, to move the login around the window?
A very important security feature so that you couldn't find it. Yeah. No,
right.
For the sheer looks of it, we couldn't have, NT showing us up, could we?
No, that would be terrible. Pedro, over to you. What was your first open source contribution?
So Inkscape, translation and testing. Yeah, that was the first one. Or awesome. The first one.
And was it Inkscape then, or was it Soddy Poddy, as it was named before then? Another winning brand.
Maybe still exists, yeah. I think you can still run it, actually.
Yeah.
No, I think it was already Inkscape, yes.
Okay, so the author of Inkscape originally whispered like this all the time. And I asked him once why he whispered all the time. And he said, when you have 4 children, you appreciate silence. And he's right, you do. Kendy, when was your first open source contribution?
I was trying to remember, and I didn't remember, but so I would say, like, why is it such an honor to sit here? Because I will tell you what weren't my contributions and first contributions. So, like, in university, we were supposed to do some kind of project together with friends. We were supposed to, like, meet up together, create some kind of project, and we thought that we would do some reverse engineering of the doc format of Word. So got excited about that, then went to Yahoo'd if there's anything like that. And we have found out that actually Caolan has created a great thing for that. And the other example, when I wanted to do my diploma thesis, I sat down and I thought, like, yeah, GTK is for Linux. Maybe I would like to port it to Windows. And then, like, Yahoo again. And I found out that Tor has done it before me. So it was such a pleasure to meet them later together in the company in SUSE. So yeah, but these weren't my contributions, unfortunately.
Thanks, Kendy. That's awesome. Yeah. Andras, how about yourself?
Yeah, so in 1999, I worked for an international software localization company, and the management somehow found out that the year 2000 would be the year of the Linux desktop, and they created a task force to explore the possibilities how to localize software under Linux, and they knew that I was a Linux desktop user, and yeah, I was. In this task force, and we quickly found out that the year of the Linux desktop didn't come, and it's difficult to make money in this community. But I was sucked in, and so my first contributions were basically localizations, Hungarian translations, and then Firefox came, or Netscape, and then OpenOffice and so on.
And you set up the free, or were involved in the Free Software Foundation in Hungary, is that right? Or?
Yeah, so after some years of work, we thought that it would be good to create an organization to accept donations and so on. So we founded a Free Software Foundation Hungary. It was an organization that still exists today.
Still exists today. That's
yes.
brilliant. That's a good sign. So you're doing something right, Andras. And so that was when you first got paid for working on open source as well, is it?
Well, not quite. It took about 10 years.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And when was that then?
It was in 2010 when LibreOffice started, actually. So when I applied for a job at SUSE. So Michael and Kendy interviewed me in the House of the Parliament or something like that, as far as I can remember.
That was an easy hire. Kendy, how about yourself? When were you first employed onto work?
Yeah, so it was in 1999 when I got hired by SUSE for working on YAST. I was writing the printing module for YAST.
In YCP?
In YCP, indeed. Indeed.
The lost language of
Yeah.
Pedro, how about yourself? When were you first employed?
Here, yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah, within Collabora, yeah. So much more recent, I'd say. So 2018 or 2019, something like that. And I'm happy here. I'm happy to be here, yes.
Caolan, how about you?
First job, proper job, was with Star Division / Sun Microsystems. So for about a couple of months, I worked on Star Office before they turned it into OpenOffice. So I guess on the release date of OpenOffice is when I was paid to work on free software. I guess that's it.
Awesome. And before that, it was just libwv and Word and reverse engineering for fun, you know?
Yeah, certainly not paid for it.
So, how about you?
I think it was in 2005 when I was hired by Novell to work on porting Evolution to Windows. And I'm not sure if you were involved in that decision.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. And Thorsten?
Yeah, actually, I met Caolan at Sun Microsystems. So I got they hired me when that was already open source, and that was actually the reason why I went there. So I was interviewing after university. I was interviewing with the usual German whatever car manufacturers and industry conglomerates, and it was all kind of boring. And then Sun had two people at the campus, and they were like, "Oh, we're doing open source, and it's in Hamburg." Like, I'm sold. So that's why I started there and earned some money.
Awesome, awesome. Hopefully there's a lot more open source jobs out there these days, so I'm hoping this is a... Anyhow, I have some more questions. Say, what is the biggest challenge in writing an Office suite? Caolan.
Over the various steps over time with the Office suite, and it's kind of become less as time has gone by, but just the sheer size of it has always been a difficulty. Whether when we were citing Star Office at the time, nobody was able to build the entirety of it, so the release engineers had built it once a week, and then you had to link your stuff against that weekly solver. and you couldn't make any API changes of the internal, not really an API at all, until the Friday, in which case they would rebuild it over the course of the weekend. So just that kind of difficulty of doing anything has always been the blocker with LibreOffice and Open. There's so much of it that there's practical steps. Anytime anybody invents a new tool, it doesn't work with LibreOffice or OpenOffice. It falls over, it breaks. And I don't know, Miklas had the T-shirt of breaking your tool chain since whatever. And that's been, I think, the most difficult practical part of the Office suite.
Yeah, it's exciting. Oh, shoot. Yeah, Ken, talk. Go for it.
This is a joke. As we all know, the hardest thing in coding is typing fast enough, so you should use the right keyboard layout.
And I think the other thing that is hard with Office suites is that people underestimate like how hard it is, because like when I started doing that, like the project that we were doing instead of this reverse engineering was actually that we started doing some program for making notes for the lectures and also some presentation engine. And just, you know, making the layout right, making it performing, and like just moving the cursor in the text document so that it doesn't like go like that in like when you do not have a fixed layout is pretty hard actually. And of course, the other thing that people keep underestimating is undo. And like from my point of view, like doing this as undo stack and redo stack is the worst way of doing that. But unfortunately, this is what we are stuck to. So.
Fair enough. So that sort of leads on to, if you could give one piece of advice as a young hacker, what should you do about your undo stack, Kendy? I'm going to throw this to you. You know, how can we do it better?
Well, at least think about the data structure before you start coding.
Yes, I think that's good advice generally. I think quite a lot of our decisions were made as a demo application, I think, for is this true, Caolan? Tell me about the demo application story.
Well, I think that's probably might be more before my time, but I guess we're running out of people before my time. So my understanding was, yes, that there was a huge pressure generally to get things ready for the large German conference, which goes on in Hanover, which is CeBIT. That it was always a yearly pressure to make sure it was demoable at CeBIT, and of course that's a fixed schedule, so there's no pushing it out. Demos, CeBIT.
And there's comments in the code literally called Messe hack, which is like trade fair hack, and it was like dated, and it was like, because it was quite expensive for a small company to have like a booth there at CeBIT, so you really had to make it count. So that was like, yeah. And then, you know, when the hack is in and it works, then it sticks.
Indeed, indeed, and it's built around. Tor, what advice are you giving young hackers, if you can give, you know?
Well, my advice would be that even if something is very interesting to you and you are very eager to work on it, don't spend too much time on it. And if you get tired of it, it's okay to not work on it anymore and just let somebody else continue.
So this is Tor, who's sort of retired and then, you know, actually couldn't keep his own advice, you know, and came back to, you know, I'm loving it. So we're really grateful to have you back, Tor. It's just fantastic. Who else wanted to say? Caolan, what's your most tragic development story?
In a different project, is this recorded and to be sent out, by the way, is it? Should I meet the make
Change the names, you know?
There are other projects that I contribute to as well, and but generally what you're hoping to do is, maybe you're hoping like that, you're hoping to give the project over to somebody else, let somebody else maintain it, and you could walk away from it and somebody else will be the new maintainer. And myself and somebody else were involved in this project. Really, you needed new maintainers, and new maintainers showed up, and there was even funding available from a different project that wanted to fund it. But it all went wrong. They took the project in a different direction than the original maintainer wanted. He was very unhappy. So when it all finished up, everybody was unhappy. The people who wanted to sponsor it didn't get what they wanted. The people who wanted to improve the project with their new vision didn't get what they wanted, and the original maintainer was unhappy, and it all ended in tears. So yeah, it's very difficult sometimes just to get the project to be continued by other people. That's difficult.
Yeah, getting people to work together is fun. Pedro, do you have a similar?
Yeah, I just want to maybe circle back to what would be maybe the piece of advice we could give to
Sure.
junior contributors? And maybe conclude that maybe we could also take that advice ourselves as maintainers. So the way I like to think is that, you know, we just step in someone's land. Yeah, so, you know, I just saw some application that is a GitHub repository. Oh, Collabora Online, what is that? This looks good, yeah? But there are people already walking that land. And people are walking a different way maybe than me. Maybe they have different customs, different etiquette. So I think it will be good to first see where the trails go. Who is walking there, how they walk. So maybe grab a map. That map will probably be read the README the contributing. Look at the trails, so git blame, see what's the style and the etiquette, the code style, formatting. Maybe there is some security requirements, and then I will be more, you know, confident in my first contribution. And same thing is true in the opposite direction. So the people that are already in that land, maybe it'll be easier if we, and you can see that every day we do that effort, to show already where the trails go and already give you that map easy to access so you don't get lost. So yeah, that's...
Sounds cool. Kendy, so difficult people, you know, getting people to work together. What was the hardest contributor you've dealt with, or the most difficult patch you've had to merge?
Yes, so, like, I don't like this question that much because I would like to turn it into something more positive. So I would turn it into
the best contributor.
into the best contributors I worked with, and I like had lots of good experience in Google Summer of Code, like when I was working with the students. But like there were two outstanding, and that was Miklos and then was Shimon, and I'm so glad that they are both in Collabora these days, because it was just awesome experience working with them, and they are awesome. They rock. So.
So if you want to become a principal engineer, get Kendy to mentor you, it turns out. So this is a good sign. Fantastic. Good. What design decision did you make that you now think was wrong, but you can't easily change? Kendy.
Me again. Yeah, so that is a very like brown bag kind of thing over my head, but I will confess to that. So at some stage, like when we needed to migrate the OpenOffice code base at the time into Git, like we were talking about that a lot. We have created that. We have created the tooling, or I've created the tooling to do that. And like while at that, I wanted to change the tabs into spaces, because like half of the code base was using tabs and half of that was using spaces. So I've added that to the tool, and I just forgot and didn't see it during the like test conversions, that I forgot that like when you use tabs, and the tabs are not at the beginning of like the line, but somewhere in the middle. It is not 8 spaces. Like it is something that is supposed to do the columns for you, and it leaked into the final conversion. We started using that, and still, like you can see in the LibreOffice code, the malformed tabs, and every time I see that, I just feel so bad. Sorry.
Well, thank you for migrating us to Git, Kendy. That was absolutely a fantastic move. Tor, any other things you want to share?
Yes, about cool. So when I was writing the initial idea for it, initial proof of concept, I was looking for some library that would implement this WebSockets API, and I chose Poco. And maybe in retrospect, it would have been better to not use it, because now we are trying to get rid of it.
Yes. So it turned out the Poco WebSocket thing was synchronous and also not thread safe, and this came to a head at some point, as I recall, and we delayed shipping, didn't we, while we rewrote that. It was an exciting time of debugging. Cool. Well, I think we're nearly at the end. I think there was one last question, which was, what do you do when you get stuck Because there's quite a lot of people who just, the problem becomes too big and they just freeze like a rabbit in the headlights. So I don't know if anyone wants to handle that. I know Caolan had an answer, you know. You see, we want to know how Caolan continues working, so it's continuously, you know.
Well, I was taking that kind of question from the perspective of debugging, and it was fairly straightforward. You know, you just compose that email to somebody better than you, and you don't actually fill in their name or anything. Just compose the email, and as you go through the email, you know they're going to have questions, and you answer the questions that that person smarter than you is going to ask. Have you tried X? Yes, I've tried X. Did you really try X? All the possible ways X can be tried. Yes, well, I haven't. I'll just go do that first, and then I'll come back and I fill that part into the email. And when you finally get to the end of the email, if you haven't actually, you know, solved the problem, which you probably have, then, you know, put that mailing list in the top at the to or the actual person, and maybe they will have the answer, but you probably solved it before that.
I love it. And it's actually interesting because if you look at how AI is often used nowadays, you know, the first pass is often not wonderful. And actually that process of challenging and reiterating and redoing it, that is almost like a dialogue, a conversation with yourself. I know it sounds mad, but we're all talking to ourselves. It just gets a much, much better result. So yeah, cool. Rubber ducking, I think we call it. Cool, well thanks so much to these heroic hackers for their brave and bold answers and for all they've done. So thank you guys.